Hello guys, Crispy here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti in Forsbroken. This one is the Gigabyte OC model of the card. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers as usual, and I am not overclocking it. It comes already overclocked out of the box, as the name suggests. You can see over in Tech Power-Ups, GPU-Z, all of the GPU specs. Rebar is enabled. We got 12 gigs of GDDR6X VRAM, 7680 CUDA cores, and it released, well, a few weeks ago. Over on the left, we're pairing it with a Ryzen 7 5800X 3D and 32 gigabytes of RAM with this configuration right here. Let's go. Now, we're getting wrecked already. Okay. I also gotta go through the settings, of course. So we're starting this at 4K resolution using, yes, 120 FPS lock because this is a console port, so you can't really unlock the FPS. Let's set it to full screen right here, and let's go to the graphics settings. So I set it to ultra high, which is the maximum settings preset. It basically sets everything to the maximum aside from the upscaling, which is using FSR2 on quality. So I'm gonna go ahead, set this to custom, and now change this and turn it off. So now we're at 4K native resolution with everything maxed out, including ray tracing. It's very, very intensive like this, and the game looks and kind of runs terrible at the same time, you know. I can say that it looks a bit rough, you know. It doesn't look like ultra settings on a 2023 title, that's for sure. And it performs terrible, my friends. It's 30 FPS, yes, it's playable like this, but even the RTX 4090 can't get 60 FPS at these settings, at least 60 plus FPS, you know. It actually gets like 50-ish on average, higher 50s if you don't get into much of a fight and stuff like that. Also, motion blur is enabled, so we gotta disable that. I'm gonna restart counting the FPS. Not that motion blur does anything to your frame rate, it's pretty much the same thing. Oh, I gotta mention that I'm also playing the demo, and it seems like the full release of the game, full version, is actually slightly more intensive. Probably because it takes place on another area of the map, at the beginning at least, which is more intensive, of course. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out. This is the most intensive thing that you can do, both in the demo and inside of the game itself. Of course, if you have bigger monsters throwing around their effects as well, their attacks and whatever, it should be slightly more intensive than this, but as you saw there, it actually drops from 30 FPS. From a card that can actually run like Red Dead Redemption 2, which looks way better than this. Yes, it doesn't have ray tracing, but it does look way better than this. At 60 FPS with completely maxed out settings, aside from MSAA and the water physics. Yeah. I did not expect to see these graphics and 35 FPS average and drops from 30 FPS. You know, it's just terrible optimization in this one, guys. But we got DLSS here, so let's try that out on quality. And that bumps our FPS hugely. It's now getting around the same FPS as a 4090 would get at native resolution. So if you want 4090 performance with a 4070 Ti, it seems like this with DLSS does that. I've also seen that in other games that I tried in my full review of the 4070 Ti. It gets really close to 4090 performance if you enable DLSS on quality at 4K, and that's extremely great to see. What's not extremely great to see is this game's performance. But in other games, the 4090 at native 4K is a beast, and this GPU, apparently, with quality DLSS, gets close to it, so that's really cool. If only it was at its actual MSRP, or lower than that, because its actual MSRP is still quite steep, but we're not talking pricing here, okay? The performance itself is really good, except in this game. Anyways, should we start doing something instead of like running around and complaining about the performance of this thing? I think we should. We got a lot of crocodiles in this area, or alligators, or dinosaurs. I don't know. Some people get mad at me for calling them crocodiles instead of alligators, but I mean, we can call them dinosaurs, right? Let's go. Let's do this. See how much it drops now. It dropped to like 29 previously, or 28. Maybe more than that, but I've seen 28 there. And now it drops to 40s, like the mid to low 40s most of the time. That's okay. It's not terrible. It's playable for a game like this, single player and so on. It's still enjoyable, guys, but I mean, performance is very lackluster. You actually need a 40 series GPU or a 3090 Ti if you want to play this game at 4K with DLSS. Let's try it on balanced DLSS. And by the way, disabling ray tracing in this game doesn't really affect visuals too much, so you might want to do that. I'll also test it without RT in the second half of this video, but let's leave it enabled for now. There we go, getting 60s. I mean, 60s is better than lower 50s, you know, obviously. But I expected a bit better again. A bit bigger of a jump at this balanced DLSS compared to quality DLSS. But anyways, my gal doesn't get tired, you know. Alright, let's do this now. Okay. Most intensive scenario right away. And now instead of dropping into the lower 40s, it seems like it drops into the higher 40s. Gets like 5 more FPS, basically. In worst case scenario at least, which is okay. I would definitely utilize DLSS instead of FSR in this game, because FSR makes some things look pretty bad, especially like the hair, which doesn't look great here using DLSS, but even at native resolution it doesn't look great either. It's good that it's there, obviously, especially for AMD GPUs and older Nvidia cards that don't have DLSS, but if you have an RTX card, definitely utilize DLSS over FSR. That's why I'm not going to test FSR in this video. Anyways, let's stop it there, guys. 64 FPS average, 47.1% lows with balanced DLSS. Let's do performance DLSS, which still looks really good at 4K, by the way. I can definitely tell that it's not running with the higher DLSS settings or native resolution now. But I could still play like this, especially on a 32-inch or 27, 28-inch monitor. That's 4K. I'm actually utilizing an LG C2, which is a 42-inch monitor, so every pixelation, every softness in the image is exaggerated for me, and I can clearly see it here using performance DLSS. But overall, again, on a smaller monitor, it would actually look really good anyways. And this is probably the way to get 60 plus most of the time, at least running around. Maybe adding a little bit of effects here and there, you know, fighting some enemies. Yeah, it doesn't really drop too much, but I feel like it is still gonna drop whenever we use this right here. Fire Strike. Oh, yes. Okay, so we got 60s here. Yeah, 59 right there. I mean, drops into the higher 50s aren't really very noticeable anyways, so if you want 60 plus with the 4070 Ti, I guess you can have it at 4K if you use the performance DLSS setting, of course. Next up, let's gotta wait, of course. Disable DLSS, there we go, back into the 30s there. And let's drop the resolution to 1440p. I just noticed something very interesting. If you click these menus down here, it doesn't do anything because you actually gotta hit the text for it to register anything. If you don't hit the text, it doesn't register. All right, there we go. It's exactly the same thing as Elden Ring. Console ports, right? Anyways, this is highest settings again, no DLSS at 1440p, and a lot of people really enjoy. Oh, 69 FPS right there. Might actually be the perfect experience. Wow, amazing. But yeah, a lot of people will actually buy the 4070 Ti for 1440p gaming because this is the resolution that Nvidia targets with this GPU. They said it's targeted at high refresh rate 1440p experiences. However, this is definitely not a high refresh rate 1440p experience. It's already dropping a bit from 60 at times. Again, to be expected, because the game is so broken, right? I mean, it's in the name itself, Forsbroken. Yeah, what can you expect? Oh my gosh, drops into the 40s still. To be honest, even my RTX 4080 dropped from 60 FPS using these settings, so yeah. It was quite a bit faster than this, but still, the game is just broken. What else do I need to tell? I mean, it's very interesting to see the performance of cards, and I am actually having a blast testing it in different GPUs and seeing the different performance. But at the same time, it makes me really sad to see the state of gaming. I really hope that developers start caring about performance more, because this is completely unacceptable. And I'm really happy to see that a lot of people are just avoiding this game altogether because of its optimization issues. That's definitely the right move here, you know. Just don't give them your money. They should have released this in a way better state, and they should have waited a bit longer to release this thing. This is just unacceptable. You need a latest generation GPU to play it. And you know what's also very interesting? The development of this game started in 2018. 5 years later, this is what they come up with. Now let's do DLSS on quality here, and I'm only going to test quality DLSS at these lower resolutions, no balanced or performance, because then it starts looking really rough on the edges. And I can clearly tell that it is a bit softer. There are a few games where DLSS makes things sharper and more detailed sometimes. This is not one of them, unfortunately. So you are actually required to run DLSS, and it's not one of those games where it looks better than native res. What a mess, what a mess. Anyways, let's go ahead and throw this out. Okay, 60s there. Alright, apparently you can get the 60 plus FPS experience with the 4070 Ti as long as you play at 1440p, Ultra, Ray Tracing, and DLSS enabled. $1,000 GPU is what you need for that experience with DLSS. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a joke, man. I wish I was joking, my friends. Here we go, now it's 1080p time on a $1,000 GPU. I mean, $1,000 PCs, entire PCs, are actually very capable these days of 1440p gaming with high or ultra settings. But now we're using a $1,000 GPU to be able to run this at 60 plus FPS using 1080p resolution. I feel like it's gonna drop, you know, because we haven't even used this yet. It's already in the 60s. Okay, 62 there, 61. It's around the same thing as 1440p with DLSS quality, I think. It's not dropping, at least. Well, yeah. Oh, no, oh, never mind, never mind, never mind. Oh my god. 4070 Ti is a 720p gaming GPU by this game standards. That is absolutely stupid and ridiculous. I have never seen such BS in my life. It also looks like it's using some DLSS, but it isn't, right? Like, that needs to be disabled. It's obviously disabled. Yeah, okay. Speaking of, since we can't get 60 FPS plus all of the time at freaking 1080p, we need quality DLSS at this resolution, alright? Yeah, it looks a little bit softer for sure, especially around your character. You can tell that it was much crispier, how I like it, at the native res. But hey, if you must have like 100 FPS on average, this is it. This can do it. You just need to lower it down to 1080p and quality DLSS. I wouldn't even be mad if we got these FPS at like 1440p native. This is what it takes for 60 plus all of the time. Great stuff. Okay, so although I didn't need to restart, I restarted the game to play at 4K and apply the no ray tracing setting. So pretty much everything is still the same. No DLSS at the moment, but now ray tracing is off. And remember what kind of FPS we got around here? Like 34, 35 or something like that. Yeah, we're getting like 5 more FPS. Still dropping into the 30s and nothing is happening. It doesn't matter too much whether or not you have ray tracing enabled or disabled in this game. It's just, it runs poorly either way. Usually in games that support ray tracing, you disable it and you gain like 20 FPS or something like that. You go from like 40 frames to 60, 70 FPS, or in some cases even higher. But this one, nope. You get 5. And the graphics look the same, so... I don't know, man. This is just... okay, alright. You already know what this is. So anyway, let's just do this and be done with it. It still drops into the 20s, as you can see. Even without RT at 4K native. It's bad. It's bad. Stop it. Let's stop it. I'm not gonna take too long this time, okay, guys? Let's go ahead and enable DLSS on quality, and we're back into the 60s now. Not completely awful, you know? I mean, it is playable. It should be decent now. Let's stick a little bit of a fight right here. Alright, at least it doesn't drop in normal scenarios, I guess. But I want to throw my ring of fire near the woods right here, because sometimes it drops just slightly more, as you can see there, 59. Alright, there we go. This is it. 40s. 44 there was the minimum. Yep, still drops into the 40s very much. Oh boy, balanced. Come on, come on, give me those 60 plus. I don't think we can get 60 plus, now that I think of it, at 4K. Maybe in performance DLSS or so. Yeah, this is definitely still gonna drop in balanced. Oh my gosh, dude. It is so interesting. The effect, you know what? I say that this game looks terrible. It's not awful. It's not completely terrible, you know. It could definitely use some better shadows, some more dynamic trees. They're almost stopped there, you know. There's no wind, as well as grass and stuff like that, and some better ambient occlusion, because it feels really flat. It looks really flat. It doesn't feel flat. Although if I try to feel my screen, it also feels flat because it's not a curved screen. I'm sorry. Let's go. I forgot to count the FPS, but the point still stands. You get like 4 to 5 more FPS than DLSS quality. So performance still gonna drop probably, maybe. Oh, it's not dropping. Look at that. All right, come on. I think we gotta throw that out again, guys. Wait, there we go. Come on. Okay, I'm forgetting to start counting the FPS. You know. Here we go. There are no enemies around anymore, but oh, it's still enough to drop it from 60. Here we go, 2560 by 1440, using same highest settings without RT and no DLSS at the moment. Get 70s. Right, at least 70s is better than 6. It's still dropping, of course it is. Into the 40s even. Wow. Great experience, you know. I want 60 plus, so I'm gonna try to look for it. Quality. Ooh, 100 FPS. So now we're getting around the same FPS as 1080p previously. Yeah, I believe. Maybe 1080p with DLSS? I don't remember. Let's start counting the frames. Play around a little bit. Wait for that attack to load again. Where are the enemies? Oh, that's just a skeleton. That skeleton. Come on. There we go. Nice. Got a little bit of a fight going on, and it's not dropping here, which is nice. Now we got this thing. Oh, come on, come on. There we go. Nice. Alright, 80s inside of the Ring of Fire, but if you get close to its walls, it's not dropping. Alright, seems like ray tracing in this game has a lot of like lighting effects maybe? Because it's not dropping as much now, using 1440p native res. At least that, my friends, at least that. So apparently we already found the settings for 60 plus FPS at 1440p. Ultra with quality DLSS. So that means that at 1080p, it will get 60 plus. This is it, guys, the last setting of this video, or last resolution, 1080p. Using the same highest settings, and I feel like, yeah, this shouldn't drop from 60 FPS, right? I really hope it doesn't. Although, it could around here with the Ring of Fire, if there are some enemies waiting for us, please. Enemies, where are you? Is this an enemy? Yes, okay. Come over here. Come to me, boy. Come to me. Also, there isn't any Jack or Roach in this game, which is very terrible. I don't like that. I really do not like that. We got the big open world game without a Roach. It's terrible. Alright, wait, I guess we gotta fight these boys over here. They're all dead. Okay. 69 there was the minimum. Alright, this could be a pretty decent option as well, just because of that minimum FPS, you know? Yeah, it's not dropping too much. 68. Of course, as expected, if it didn't drop with quality DLSS at 1440p, it won't drop here at native 1080p. But the fact that you need to disable ray tracing to play at 1080p native above 60 FPS on a 4070 Ti is just, it's stupid. Developers, Square Enix, I don't know what you did, with this game and where you went wrong, you know. You should not have released something like this. I really hope the next game from you guys is well optimized. Like, it's one of the most important things in gaming these days. You don't want stuttering issues, which this game doesn't have at least. But you also don't want extremely low FPS on very expensive components, right? But especially if the graphics don't justify it. So that's it, my friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.